Hi everybody, Mark here with Couch to Camino 2026. We are at, day 191. Another week. So this week I'm going to talk about, I had it scheduled for like health and safety. I'm going to break this into two videos. I'm going to do kind of health stuff, and then I'll do a short video afterwards about safety stuff. It'll all be pretty generic and hopefully it won't bore you too much. Remember, if you have any questions, ask them down in the comments, and you can always email me at askmeacaminoquestion@gmail.com, and I will get back to you. A few people are doing it. Okay, so this week I'm going to try to keep these a little shorter. I've been stretching into the really long, so let me see if I can do this a little quicker. So, the too long didn't listen, the TLDL, is... and we're going to start off with health. Again, I'm not a doctor, blah, blah, blah. Don't sue me. So for the most part, the walking the Camino is safer than a traditional hiking trip because you are walking, say it with me, city to city, town to town, village to village, with multiple chances throughout the day for assistance. And you're not doing the stuff that really leads to injuries when you're hiking. Putting up tents, building a campfire, hanging bear bags, breaking trail, crossing ice, whatever. You're not doing that. The TLDL number 2, most injuries are from falls or from stress injuries. Shin splints, ankle stress issues, that sort of thing. And of course, blisters, and in the summertime, sunburn. All can be addressed with assets you can find on the Camino. Number 3, you really just need a very, very simple first aid kit. This is not really an experience, unless you're planning on doing some weird stuff out there. This is not an experience where you need to carry a giant comprehensive first aid kit. Basic boo-boo kits are just fine. Number 4, let's talk about your prescriptions. An American prescription is going to be nearly impossible to get refilled in Spain. I'm basing this on a long conversation I had with a pharmacist in Limón in 2024. And what she essentially told me was, because their systems don't sync with our systems, to refill something like that, they have to make contact with your physician, get everything cleared. It's a giant 2 to 3 day pain in the butt. What she recommended is that you ask about the medication. There may be, because their schedules are different, there may be an over-the-counter version that you can get there. If that doesn't work, they may highly recommend that you make an appointment with a private physician, tell them what you're doing, tell them why you need this prescription refilled, pay them the 20, 30 euros that a little office visit takes. They may give you a prescription that you can then take to that pharmacy and get it filled almost immediately. That weirdly may be, it sounds roundabout, but it may be the most efficient way to do it. You really should just pack all the drugs, all your pharmaceuticals, all your supplements you need for your entire trip. In the ramble, I'll show you how I do mine. Best practices, best travel and security practice is keep them in the original prescription bottle, keep them in the original manufacturer's bottle. That way there's no question what they are, who they belong to, all of that stuff. How I handle that is very different. I'll show you down below. I'm not saying you should do it. I'm saying it's how I do it. All things pharmacy. So, pharmacies are very easy to find in Spain because either by tradition or law, they have these big signs on them. Hard to miss. A traditional or a pharmacy in Spain is the place you get your of course, prescriptions, but also painkillers and such. I've never seen painkillers or allergy meds that I can remember anywhere but a pharmacy. The grocery stores, the tiendas, we're used to here in the States being able to walk in and grab what we need from your local convenience store has painkillers. It's really not that common there. Again, I don't know if it's a law or not, but pharmacies are where you get your painkillers and other medications. They also have some of the best sunscreen. Grocery stores, tiendas, mercados are where you're going to get your toothpaste, your toothbrushes, travel deodorants, that kind of thing. The pharmacies, the bigger ones, may have a little bit of stuff, especially on the Camino. They may have some foot care related stuff, but really you want to go to the grocery stores, the markets, for anything other than painkillers and medications. So let's talk about the most common injury on the Camino is blisters. There's a lot of information out there. If you look on YouTube for in the hiking community, or God help you if you're on Reddit, there's tons of information on how to deal with your blisters. Most of them are wrong. Half of them are dumb and dangerous. I'm not going to get into the nuts and bolts of it, but the best way to deal with your blisters is don't get blisters. And I know that sounds really flippant, and there are people who are very prone to blistering. I get that. But if you were going to be going with me, if next April, or say you're going in May, you have 7 months to figure out your socks and your shoes. That's plenty of time to come up with a combination of sock systems, multiple socks if you need them, shoes, changing out shoes. Get it sorted out now. You don't want to have to deal with that when you're on the Camino, because bad blisters can put you off your feet for a week, maybe more. And there's little you can do about it other than just lay there and watch your Camino disappear. So deal with it now. If you got weird toes and such that stick up, hit the top of your shoe and all that kind of stuff, I get it. I have friends that have those issues. Shop for your shoes. Alter your shoes if you need to. Take a knife to the damn things if you need to. Whatever it takes for you to be able to do your Camino without getting a bunch of blisters. We're going to talk about footwear and how I handle my sock and shoe system here in about 2 weeks, when we're talking about 3 weeks, when we're talking about shoes and socks. So we'll cover that stuff. So that's basically the TLDL for the health stuff. Also, okay, here's a bonus. Wash your darn hands. Wash your hands multiple times a day. Anytime you go to a public space, wash your hands. Carry some hand sanitizer. You can get little travel Purells. You can refill. You can get little travel Purells all through Spain as you're going in most of the cities. So just wash your hands on top of everything else. So that's the TLDL. It is much safer. Consider that the health consequences or the health risks of what you're doing is really no more than walking from restaurant to restaurant, mall to mall in your average city. Yeah, you may trip and fall and skin your knee. Yeah, you may have a bad fall and something bad happens, but there's almost always somebody there who can render you assistance. So don't overthink, don't overpack, don't overworry. Just be aware. And then I'll talk a little more about that in version 2 of this talk when we talk about personal safety. That's going to cover a broad range of things. That's going to be more of a ramble. So that's your TLDL. Enjoy yourself out there. Don't overworry stuff. You're going to have a great time. You're going to stay healthy because you're doing the things you need to do. You went and saw your doctor already, didn't you? Yeah? Now you're going to go see your podiatrist if you need to. Get those issues figured out now so we don't have to worry about it while we're in Spain, right? So let's see how that goes. Alrighty, on to the ramble. What's our drink for this week? Since I've got my lemonade sitting right here in the fridge, we're going to have another lemonade-based thing. So, and again, look at this. It's too low for you to see. I'm terrible at this. So I'm going to use a prescription bottle. It's now a prescription. So what we're going to do is beer in a glass. Ooh, tink. By the way, Drea beer from Barcelona. Good stuff. And you'll notice I only poured half a glass because today we are making Cerveza con Limón. Beer with lemon. And they will make this right at the bar for you. If you don't want a full strength beer, you just want a little sugar to go with your beer. It's light, it's refreshing, a lot like the Tinto de Verano from last week. Man, it is just the way to go. It's one of my favorites. I say that every week, but I do drink this here at the farm. I like a lower alcohol beer. I don't like big, manly beers. I like things that taste like a 10-year-old would be willing to drink it. So, Cerveza con Limón. You'll also see it called Radler. I think that's German or something. And like Amstel makes a Radler that'll be on tap. But if you just ask for a Cerveza con Limón, they're going to know what you're talking about. And it's one of these. And I think, looking over my shoulder, it's after 11. Yay. So, so delicious. So let's talk about, let's go down the list that I just did in the TLDL. Like I said, number one, you're not doing all the stuff that a traditional hiking trip entails. You're basically just walking. You're not crossing scary boulder fields. You're not trying to avoid rattlesnakes and, well, there are a lot of snakes because they're attracted to me. At some point, I'll post a picture of all the snakes that I've experienced on the Camino. Yeah, fun. Anyway, so, the worst thing you might run into is like a dog. There's some barky dogs outside of Logroño that are kind of famous for when you're coming down just before the garden areas. It's just part of life. It's not that big a deal. Number 2 point, most of your injuries are going to come from falls. Falls or just repetitive stress injuries. Shin splints, tendinitis in your knees, your hips, your ankles, your feet. Plantar fasciitis can definitely show up because of all the stress. The best way to deal with those things is to, well, first of all, the repetitive stress injuries, if you do enough training beforehand and you get your shoes and your socks figured out, make sure you have enough cushion, you're going to be just fine. Those things, like avoiding shin splints, one of the things I do is, because I sometimes walk with a fairly rigid foot, I'm not letting my toe flex very much. I'll feel that stress begin to build in my shin, and I'll do what I called floppy foot walking. I'm literally just letting, as my foot comes off the ground, as I'm stepping past it, I just let my toe flop, and I'll consciously wiggle my toe a little bit. And it looks silly as hell. But if I do that every few kilometers, it loosens up the shin, loosens up the ankle, keeps everything really nice. A little bit of stretching pre and post also will help those things. I have a little stretching routine that we'll go over when we're talking about training, but for me, it does really help. And I'll stretch during the day while I'm walking too. If I stop at a little bar or something for lunch, before I get out, I'll do some ankle rotations, knee rotations, hip rotations, get ready to go. That way I'm kind of avoiding the chances of those. If you've watched my other videos, you know that in 2024, I had a weird nerve thing going on in my right hip. Plus my dad was moving into his apartment, so I came back early. Honestly, I had stopped doing my stretches and such. So I kind of think the reason I had the hip problems is because I didn't follow my own damn advice. So, there's that. Falls. Man, people fall every year. Thousands fall. Some are bad. I have somebody behind me, a day behind me 1 year, broke a femur up between Orison and Roncesvalles coming down through the forest. There's places that are going to be bad. But to avoid falls, number one, stop talking. Stop gabbing with everybody around you. It's a great experience, but stop and concentrate on what you're doing. Use your trekking poles. If you're going downhill, extend them out longer than normal so you can reach down, put those on the ground, and carefully take the steps you need. If you're listening to music or something, take your earbuds out. Pay attention to what you're doing. Stop taking pictures. Just get to where you need to go in a safe, deliberate manner. If you just do that, be aware of the surroundings, be aware of the footing, the likelihood you're going to have a fall go further and further down. So just, the meseta where you're walking on groomed gravel trail through farms and farm roads for better part of a week, that's a great place to talk because there's nothing else to do. But when you're in the mountains, when you're on a challenging piece of trail, pay attention to what you're doing and you're going to avoid those falls. I had a fall coming out of Zubiri in 2020 because I wasn't paying attention. I forgot to put on my traction cleats as I knew I could see frost on the concrete up above just before the bridge. And because I was too busy talking to somebody, I took a spill. I didn't get hurt, but it's embarrassing. So anyway, speaking from experience, just pay attention, be deliberate. There's times to talk. There's times to walk. Ooh, rhymed. Let's talk about first aid kits. Man, people love to pack big old first aid kits. For the most part, you just don't need that big of a first aid kit. I have mine right here. This is the first aid kit that I use for the Camino. This lives in my backpack. I carry a first aid kit and I carry an ace bandage. This is for stress stuff. This is basically a boo-boo kit. What's in the bag is, and I'm not making this up, the real emergency part of my kit is there's 3 Band-Aids, there's 2 little packets of triple antibiotic. That's it. This is all the first aid kit I take. I have overpacked so many first aid kits. I've never seen where I needed more. If I did need more, usually it's just a matter of grabbing more in whatever town I'm in. It's just not that big a deal. Now, I do carry an extra little bit of acid reflux medication and some Imodium, but that is literally all that's in this red bag. Why do I keep the big red bag? Because I also will pick up painkillers, paracetamol or something like that while I'm in Spain, and I like to have a good watertight first aid bag to keep it in. These are from This is from Hilltop Packs. Completely unnecessary. I just like the people at Hilltop Packs. I like their stuff. I love these goofy color-coded bags. There's no reason you can't just throw your stuff into a Ziploc and get on with life. Don't spend money on this kind of stuff. If you're just going to do the Camino one time, it's a waste of money. Just use a Ziploc. But don't overpack. We're going city to city, town to town, village to village. We can get stuff as we go if we need it. Speaking of Band-Aids, this is completely my own theory, but I've worked construction for years. I live on a farm. I am constantly doing something that requires a Band-Aid. Children's Band-Aids stick better than adult Band-Aids, and I swear they use a different adhesive because they know kids are little dum-dums that are going to try to peel them off and play with them. My personal favorite is I use Hello Kitty Band-Aids because that way it embarrasses people when I give them one when they need one in the field, and I think it's hysterical. But, Batman or Captain America, equally as effective. But, try that. So, first aid kit, small. You just don't need a lot. If you do, sorry, wrap a t-shirt around it, I guess. Prescriptions. Let's go on with this. This will be a little bit longer. With a break for a beer. Oh, that is so good. It also the lemon takes the bitterness out of the beer. So if you don't like lighter beers because they could be a little bitter, adding the lemon really helps. So prescriptions. Again, best travel practice is manufacturer's container, the prescription bottle with the tag that you were given at the pharmacy. The problem is, if you're like me, and I hope you're not, I've had 2 heart attacks. I take cardiac medications. I carry some other stuff to offset some of the effects of the cardiac medications. So I have 6 of these. And as far as my supplements and such, I have about 5 to 6 of these. So a dozen of these rattling around my backpack, and every morning I'm sitting in my bunk bed at the albergue Nobody wants to hear that. In my opinion, it's completely unnecessary. The rules, according to TSA, and when you're flying from the U.S., I'm not going to speak to Australia or South America, wherever you may be coming from, because we are predominantly a United States channel, except for the 3 people in Australia. The TSA really doesn't care that much, as near as I can tell. I've spoken to TSA agents. I poked a bear at TSA in Kansas City one time because I was going to, it was a vacation we stayed in Alsace-Lorraine. We were there for over 2 months. And I had a giant bag of pills that I took through TSA. And the guy, I had my carry-on. I don't check that stuff. Had it my carry-on. I could see it on the x-ray thing. And it just looked like this massive medication. And the guy just looked at it, watched it as it came out, and just kind of. So it was a quiet day. So I said, "Does that not worry you?" And he goes, "Nah." He said, I can tell it's not. He said, if it was, 1,000 pills that all looked the same, I would be concerned. But this, he goes, it's clear you're going on a long trip and that's just your daily meds. So no, not a big deal. So if you want to risk it, here's how I deal with my travel meds. You might have seen the little the little Ziplocs that I used I showed you the hydration salts in. I have tons of those laying around. They're cheap as chips on Amazon. You can get a box of 500 of them for, I don't know, $10, whatever. What I do is I take all my meds, I cut back whatever supplements that are nice to have, but I don't really need to have, and I pack them in little Ziplocs. I have a morning and I have an evening. I then will take 1 week's worth of these little guys and I will put them in a 5x5 Ziploc. And I write the week. This is left over from the last time I was there. So I write the week on the Ziploc, just so I kind of have a running total of what they're doing. I seal them up. I throw it in my backpack. Well, depending on the length of the trip, I may seal, like my next trip, the one in April, I'm only going to be gone for about 4 weeks. So I will have 4 of these little guys that I'll just probably throw in a gallon Ziploc, throw them down in my in the little secure compartment in my backpack, in a nice, watertight area. I'll keep 1 week out, and it'll be in my backpack for my arrival stuff. And we'll talk about how I arrange my backpack a little bit when we're talking a little bit more about gear and such. But anyway, so yeah, I just do this. Carry them like that. If I'm going to be gone a long time, like when I do a full Camino, when I'm going to be gone for 6 to 7 weeks sometimes, because we do vacations beforehand. My wife will come in, we'll goof off for a week or 10 days. So I may be taking a 2 months or more worth of medication. I will take these little bags, I'll seal them with a vacuum sealer, write the number of the weeks, get them sealed. That way, a Ziploc, these little zip top things, they can come undone with a little bit of scrunching around in the backpack. So I like to belt and suspender to make sure that my medications I'm not going to have that problem. And I always take an extra week just in case. In 2020, I avoided the COVID issues by about 6 or 7 days. Being stuck at the airport or being stuck somewhere in Spain without medications for that week would have been kind of unpleasant. So just pack a little extra, pack however you feel is best for you. Again, this is best travel practice. So you can try my version. I will tell you that I've traveled into the EU, either France or Spain. Man, actually once into Germany. I've entered into the EU probably 15 times at this point, maybe more, and I've never had a problem. France and Spain, when you arrive, you don't go through security. All you do is you pick up your luggage, you go through passport control, then you get your luggage. And nobody's looking in your bags. Nobody's, running a drug dog over you. So it's just not that big a deal. Speaking of drug dogs and such, if you do have a controlled substance, a painkiller, something like that, definitely take it in the original bottle. Pack all the rest of your stuff in however you want. Definitely take something scary in the original bottle. Also, do not travel with CBD. It's just such a wonky, weird gray area. If you use CBD, I use CBD for sleep and recovery. I just get new stuff when I get to Spain. If I have any left over, I throw it away. Don't take it on the airlines. You just don't want to mess with it. It's not worth it. No matter how enlightened the state you live in is, just don't mess with it. It's not worth it. I kind of covered all for the number 6, the pharmacy stuff. Again, pharmacies have these big flashy green signs. Some of them have a little red cross in the middle, like that. The pharmacies are great because they don't just fill your stuff, sell your stuff. They'll help you. When I was there in 2018, in May, I really wanted some good quality sunscreen, but I don't like really greasy stuff. And I just asked the pharmacist, I said, what's the best, lightest, most like water sunscreen? And they helped me out. They were great. I still use the same stuff I use around here. Like whenever I'm in Spain, I grab some and bring it back. I love it. And I can't remember the name of it. And I'm too lazy to go to the other building and look. So if I can remember, I'll figure it out when I edit. I'll put it up here. But it's good stuff. It's not greasy. It doesn't make you feel all weird. But they will help you with stuff. They'll help you with blister issues. They'll help you if you need to find a doctor. They seem to be pretty open to helping you do that. So take advantage of them. They're great. Again, number 7, blisters. Do everything you can to avoid getting blisters so you don't have to treat them in the field, or not in the field, but in your albergue, whatever. Keep your feet dry. If you feel the least bit of a hot spot forming at any point, stop, take your shoe off, take your sock off, figure out what's going on, deal with it right there. Do not think, okay, I've only got, I'll be in Logroño in 2 hours. I'm just going to go ahead and go. Do not do that. Fix it now. You don't want to deal with a giant problem later. I have nearly, let's see, so pretty soon, training for when I get into training this spring, I track all my stuff via GPS. I'm heading towards 3,000 miles of hiking between training and then the few thousand or the couple thousand miles I've done actually on the Camino. I've had one blister in all that time, and it was in 2018 because on the out before Lyon, I knew a small piece of gravel had popped into my boot and gotten into the heel cup, and I could kind of feel it in there, but I ignored it. After a couple hours, it's like, yeah, I got a little bullet blister in there, so I had to stop, take my boot off, and I had a blister just, the size of a pencil eraser, slapped a Hello Kitty bandage on it, and got going. But if I just would have stopped and dealt with it when it happened, I wouldn't have had to deal with it. So just, deal with it now, deal with it later, whatever it takes. Get your shoes and socks figured out. Nope, I'm going to save that for the shoes and boots things. And start, in 3 weeks when we talk about shoes, start thinking about getting your shoes if you haven't already gotten some. Okay, so that's about it for the ramble. This is a very broad brush thing because I don't want YouTube getting mad at me for giving medical advice or something after my adventures with giving you financial advice. But as your physician, I recommend So anyway, I should talk about a favorite place. I don't think of these beforehand because I'm terrible at this. But let me. Let's go to Logroño. So Logroño is man, there's a lot of pilgrims that just hate Logroño for some reason. I love it. I always take a down day there. It's kind of a weird schedule because I have a certain distance that I like to walk, and I'll walk to Viana, which is just the town literally before Logroño, and then I'll stay there for the night because it's the end of a fairly decent walk for me. And then it's like 6 miles from Viana to Logroño. So whenever I hit Logroño, it's usually, man, I try to like take a late start. You know, I'm there by noon, and usually the albergues I can't get in until 2 or 3. So I've got hours to burn. I'll kind of wander around town a little bit, but there's one shopping restaurant area that's near the cathedral that I really like. And there's a little bar that I really like called La Calenda. La Calenda. And I will, I may be mispronouncing that because my Spanish is really great. So I'll put it up on the screen for you. It is one of my favorite little pincho bars. They always have great stuff up there. They have a decent menu. If you ask for the Wi-Fi password, they'll cheerfully give you the Wi-Fi password. If you look on Google Maps, you'll see a lot of reviews for pilgrims saying how rude they are and such. But man, you gotta remember that Spanish restaurant culture is not our restaurant culture. If you wander in and just sit at a table, they're not going to come, unless it's like dinner time and there's menus on the table or something. They're not going to come take your order. Go up to the bar, point out something you want, and there is, I don't know, 50 foot of bar top with, you know, a refrigerated case of pinchos and tapas on the top. Point at what you want, grab something to drink. They'll either bring it to you or they'll just set it on top of the bar top, grab it, go sit down, you know, have a great time. But don't expect a traditional restaurant thing. It's more of a bar thing. But the food is fantastic. I've loved everything I've ever had there. Again, it's called La Calenda. I've eaten there dozens, probably a couple of dozen times at this point. It's one of my favorite little, just throwaway friendly places in Logroño. And I will, here in another week or two, I'm going to tell you about a whole area in Logroño that is amazing for pinchos. A lot of fun. So that's it for this week. Clyde is, I think he'll be in. He hasn't decided if he's going. He's beyond. Sorry, I'm rambling. He's beyond Santiago. He's been a couple of days on the road past Santiago. He's heading for either Fistera or Murcia on the West Coast. He hasn't decided which, but I think tomorrow is when he makes the decision of which to go. He and I have stayed in Fistera for better part of a week. Gorgeous, but I think he wants to go up to Murcia, which is up north on the coast, and explore there. So best wishes to him. He's having a great time. He'll be home Sunday or Monday. What's today's date? Yeah, Sunday or Monday. And, we wish him all the well. So I'm going to end this here now, and then I'm going to restart, and we're just going to talk about personal safety, and I've written almost nothing down, so it's going to be terrible. So I'll see you next week.